Sup, you beautiful bastards. Hope you've had a fantastic Tuesday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show. Buckle up, hit that like button, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about today is Ulta Beauty, who, if you don't know, they're a chain of beauty stores where you get makeup, skincare. And this is because recently an Ulta employee posted a TikTok video that has just gone viral showing how the company allegedly disposes of returned beauty products.
This is what we do at Ulta when someone returns something, even if it's not used.
And in that video, the employee Bianca Levinson then goes on to destroy beauty items by scraping unused eyeshadow out of a palette, snapping a new lip liner in half, and pouring out a full bottle of hair product. And she also later went on to tell reporters, "I was truly shocked that this is how returns were handled." Also saying, "I want people to realize that when they return things, it's not always put back on the shelf. They should reconsider before returning items they purchase. I understand some people have to return things, but if it's not necessary, then I don't believe they should return it." With Bianca then going on to say she estimates that about 30% of returns are put back on shelves while the rest are destroyed. And adding, "We most definitely have over $1,000 worth of returned items per week." And adding, "One time I had a customer come in and return more than $300 worth of makeup that had to all be thrown out." Now with this, Bianca's video was met with a ton of criticism in the comment section from people asking why the products were not donated, especially given how many people are in need and cash-strapped during the coronavirus pandemic. And that's why in other posts we saw Bianca saying that this is actually a pretty standard practice in the industry, with the process being known as damaging out, and it can occur for a few reasons. The first being that if a product seal is broken, there's the possibility for cross-contamination, so the items can't be resold or donated. And secondly, it's argued that this is a practice because dumpster divers will actually go find the items in the garbage and then try to return them to the store or resell them. Right, so the idea is that damaging out the products helps prevent this. Right, so that's also why you had some people pushing back when the comparisons were being made to the likes of Burberry. Also, if you don't get that reference, Burberry actually came under fire a couple of years ago for burning tens of millions of dollars worth of unsold clothes, accessories, and beauty products. This reportedly to avoid cheapening the brand. And with this story, I will say it was very interesting to see the initial and, somewhat continued reaction to this, because it seemed like a number of people who were angry at the company for having this policy were also specifically angry at Bianca. And so regarding that note, Bianca has said that people should email Ulta their concerns because she has no say in the matter. But also adding, "I don't want people to come for Ulta and stop going at all. I want people to know that stores like Sephora, Bath & Body Works, Target, Walmart, and many others all have to do the same too." And adding, "If I had a say in what could happen, I would like to donate things like hygiene products to women's and men's shelters." But adding, "I know that we can't because of the risk of infection and cross-contamination. But if we could find a way to sterilize some products somehow, it would be worth a try." But kind of touching on that note, yeah, no one should be looking to Bianca for the answers for this massive company right now. Also, it's my personal opinion, I think any of the outrage towards this young girl makes no sense. It's not like she was giddy while she was destroying the product or mocking people who couldn't afford it and she's like, "This could have been yours." Also, no, those used products should not be yours. You don't know what anyone might have done with the product, if they have something, if it could transfer to you. Like, I'm not an in the world of makeup person, but what did you think would happen with the products? Like, for me personally, I would get the outrage if we were talking about products that were completely sealed that were being destroyed. But otherwise, it seems like they're just trying to prevent a potentially hazardous situation for a consumer that would buy a used product, or at the very least, because most companies are self-serving, limiting the potential of that happening and them possibly getting hit with a lawsuit. And if anything, it felt like Bianca's video was more about, hey, be aware that this happens so you don't contribute to the waste, right? Use the testers they have available in the store before you make a purchase, but also do so in a way that is clean and safe. But hey, ultimately, that's my opinion on this, and of course, I pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts on this, whether you agree or you disagree with me? And then, let's knock out some quickies. First up, you had Kim Jong-un, who CNN reported, according to US source, North Korean leader in grave danger after surgery. Now, that came after the South Korean newspaper, the Daily NK, reported that Kim had missed not only a weapons test, but also celebrations for the country's most important national holiday last week. And both of those absences were highly unusual. And while you had outlets jumping on this story, most of them were very cautious or at least hesitant about what to say. I mean, you did have MSNBC anchor Katie Tur tweeting out that Kim was brain dead. This according to two US officials, but she then quickly deleted that tweet, then following it up with a tweet that read, "I've deleted that last tweet out of an abundance of caution. Waiting on more info. Apologies." We've also since seen a South Korean news agency quote South Korean officials saying that they had seen nothing to suggest that Kim was unwell, with the South Korean presidential spokesperson adding, "No unusual signs have been identified inside North Korea. There is nothing we can confirm with regard to Chairman Kim's alleged health problem." You also had Reuters news agency chiming in saying that two South Korean government sources said that the reports about Kim's health were not true. So ultimately, as far as what we definitively know now, we don't know anything. And here's the thing, even if it did happen, we likely wouldn't officially know until North Korean media let everyone know. I mean, hell, back in 2011 when Kim Jong-il died, we didn't know until days after when North Korean media announced it. But at the very least, it does appear that US officials are looking into this. In fact, you had National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien saying on Fox and Friends this morning,
"We're monitoring these reports very closely, and as you know, North Korea is a very closed society. There's not a free press there. They're parsimonious with the information that they provide about many things, including the health of Kim Jong-un. So we're monitoring those developments closely.
You know, it is believed that Kim Jong-un, who's 36, does have health problems. Right? This linked to obesity and heavy smoking. It's also believed that he's had to undergo surgery for previous health issues in the past. But ultimately, that's where we are right now. Big, if true, but we don't know if it's true yet. Then, in your everyday general outrage news, we had Adam Driver is over party trending on Twitter. But among other things, you have people calling him Islamophobic. And when I looked into it, it really appeared to be a nothing burger. Right? This appears to be connected to an interview he gave with the New Yorker. Right there, he talked about how he enlisted. He ended up joining the Marines after 9/11 because he wanted to fight against the terrorists who attacked the United States. Right, and here's the thing. Thinking that Adam Driver there is Islamophobic, already a stretch. But then when you actually look at the piece, you look at the interview, there's literally a line that reads, after 9/11, he found himself filled with a desire for retribution, although he wasn't sure against what or whom. It wasn't against Muslims, he said. It was, we were attacked. I want to fight for my country against whoever that is. Right, and this negative reaction seemed to be a split of people genuinely angry and wanting to cancel Driver, as well as a bunch of people sharing fan cams. And in general, for me personally, I think this whole situation is preposterous. The idea of trying to cancel or shame a man who was like, I'm gonna put my life on the line to defend this country after we were attacked. Right, you pair that with the just Olympic level, gymnastics level thinking of taking the quote that was given into he's an Islamophobe. Like it's just unadulterated stupidity. But from that, I want to share some stuff I love today, and Today in Awesome, brought to you by Squarespace. Whether you need a domain, a website, an online store, or whatever, make it with Squarespace. Squarespace empowers people of all kinds to create their online web presence or launch their new passion project. And I mean, with Squarespace, everyone can find a home there. Are you an entrepreneur, you're a blogger, vlogger, musician, actor, fashion designer, whatever, you got that new passion project. There is a reason that so many people trust and use Squarespace for their website needs. And it's easy to see why. There's nothing to install, patch, or upgrade ever. Creating a beautiful website with Squarespace's all-in-one platform has never been so simple. It's extremely intuitive and easy to use, and it includes fantastic things that you usually don't think about until way after. You also get their award-winning marketing tools and analytics. You also get personalized support from their award-winning customer care team via email or live chat. Whatever you need, they're available 24/7 to help you out. And so if you want to make the smart move, dip your toe, maybe take the next step, go ahead and start your free trial today over at squarespace.com/Phil. When you realize you love it, make sure you enter an offer code Phil to get 10% off your first purchase. And the first bit of awesome today is, if you want more of my dumb face after today's show, you can get it either in the form of new clips that I released today talking to James Charles about several topics, and or my coverage that was essentially an extension of the Philip DeFranco show, though I shot it very much like it was an old PDS. It was about this Twitch sub-shaming clip that's been going around, so I talked about that over on the channel DeFranco Does. Then, in other awesome, we got the honest trailer for Tiger King. We had Lexi Underwood taking the expensive taste test. Binging with Babish gave us caprese salad from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And the final bit of awesome today is I did not realize how much Tucci thirst there is out there. Stanley Tucci, a man that I believe it's really hard to argue that he's not a great actor. He was trending yesterday because he released a video showing how to make a Negroni, and he's just so casually charming that everyone fell in love again or for the first time with him. So if you need that Tucci escape, there's that. And hey, if you want to see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, really anything I also talk about, links as always are in the description down below. And then let's talk about sweet, sweet black gold. Oil, that's possibly the weirdest way I could have introduced this, but I do want to talk about oil. But I did want to talk about this because I've seen a lot of confusion over the past 24 hours, and that's because the price of oil in the United States actually turned negative for the first time in history, with prices dropping by more than $50 per barrel to negative $37. That means that anyone trying to sell a barrel of oil actually has to pay their buyer $37 per barrel instead of the other way around. Right? And so this is actually a huge deal, but a lot of the information that's out there about this situation, it's super confusing and dense unless you're an economist or you work on Wall Street. So what I'm going to do here is try to break down why this happened, what it means for the economy, what it means for the oil industry, and what it means for you. Right, so a couple of different things that cause this just insane and historical dip. And the first reason, actually incredibly simple. Demand for this oil is low as hell right now because of the pandemic. People are driving less, planes are flying less, the demand is just not there. In fact, according to reports, it is now around 25 to 30% below what it was when the economy gradually began to shut down starting in January. But even while that demand was falling, oil-producing countries still kept producing oil even up until early April. Right, like we talked about before, there was this huge dispute with OPEC where the members wanted to cut production because of the pandemic, but Russia refused. Long story short there, that led to a price war between Saudi Arabia and Russia, Saudi Arabia responding by flooding the market with even more oil. And then it wasn't until April 12th where everyone reached an agreement to cut oil production by 10%. Right, but by April 12th, the damage was already done. Most places in the United States were shut down, air travel was totally dead. And that brings us to reason number two. Not only was demand low, but the supply was greater than demand because it maintained and even increased during a time when it should not have. And that also created another problem: storage. Excess supply here means there are literal tons and tons of oil barrels with no one to buy them and nowhere to go. The thing is, the oil industry here is not alone. We've seen other industries, they have too much. Right, in recent weeks, we've talked about the demand for milk now being low because of all the shutdowns. Farmers have too much supply. They actually dump the milk. But today, we're not talking about milk. We're talking about oil. And when you do that with oil, it would be considered an environmental disaster. And so that's why normally any extra oil, you put it in storage. But with the way more oil than we're used to that we're talking about here, that storage has started to run out very quick. And understand, this is not just in the United States, this is everywhere. According to energy experts, the whole world has an estimated storage capacity for 6.8 billion barrels, and nearly 60% is filled. But it is an especially big problem for the United States because, for example, one of the most critical storage facilities in the United States, it's in Cushing, Oklahoma. It's where oil traded on the market is delivered, and according to reports, that facility, which can house 80 million barrels, only has room for 21 million more. Right, so we're talking about almost 75% full, and that is incredibly significant because analysts believe that this lack of storage at this super key facility is what set off the panic among oil traders that eventually resulted in the negative prices. And that actually brings us to number 4 of why we're seeing negative prices is actually caused by the way that oil is traded. Oil is traded in the market based on its future price. And so what that means is that when traders sell oil on the market to buyers like oil refineries, what they're actually selling is a contract that says that they will sell the oil for a set price at a set future date. And that is known as a futures contract. And so when someone says oil prices, they're not talking about a physical barrel filled with oil. They're actually talking about the price of the futures contract. So when you buy a futures contract, you're agreeing to buy 1,000 barrels of oil, and the price of that contract depends on the supply, demand, and the quality. Each contract trades for a month, and when it expires, the buyer either needs to take physical possession of their oil or store it. But here, no one wanted that oil because there's no demand and no place to store it. And because today is the last day to buy those May contracts, what we saw yesterday was just a massive rush to sell. So you had traders trying to offload those contracts as fast as possible so they didn't have to incur the cost. And when they couldn't find buyers for May, it sent the prices into the negatives for the first time ever. Now, with all of that explained, it brings us to what does this mean for the economy and what does this mean for you? Well, first of all, if you're hoping that you will get paid to put gas in your car, that is not what we're looking at here. Those negative prices are only for barrels of crude, so unless you are a refinery, good luck. But in general, cheap oil means cheaper gas prices, and this is actually a trend that we're already seeing. Now, as far as the economy and the oil industry, the future is somewhat mixed. Regarding the negative prices, experts generally think that this is a short-term thing, right? One day's trading when a contract was expiring isn't damning, it will bounce back. And I say this because futures contracts for June are still trading at around $22 a barrel, but $22 a barrel is still really cheap. And as long as prices are low, oil producers are going to suffer, with some reports even saying that if this goes on for a while, many smaller producers could go bankrupt, and that can cause some more long-term damage as well. As more oil facilities are forced to close and stop production, more and more people will lose their jobs. It's also shaken investor confidence in oil. Already today we're seeing stocks fall. And moreover, we've seen a number of experts say that this is part of a much bigger trend. With these experts saying that this oil situation, combined with closing factories and businesses and rising unemployment, it points to what's known as deflationary collapse, right? And that's where there's a huge supply of goods and services that demand can't meet, causing prices to fall. And while this is something that does happen, some people say that this will be unlike almost anything we've seen before. As one report pointed out, the broader takeaway is that the COVID-19 crisis is an extraordinary deflationary shock to the economy, causing the idling of a vast share of the world's productive resources. Don't let shortages of a few goods like face masks or toilet paper confuse the matter. The consequences will almost surely persist beyond the period of widespread lockdown. And so as far as what can be done here, there's actually a few things regarding the United States. According to the Financial Times, this includes urging deeper cuts from OPEC, tariffs on foreign oil imports, freeing up more storage capacity, including the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, paying producers to keep oil in the ground, or extending financial support to oil companies. And here, Donald Trump, for his part, said yesterday he is looking at putting as much as 75 million barrels in the SPR, which is used to store oil during crises. But there, it's important to point out that already 635 million barrels of oil are in that reserve, and 75 million would put it at max capacity. And regarding this topic, we also saw Trump tweet this morning, "We will never let the great U.S. oil and gas industry down. I have instructed the Secretary of Energy and Secretary of the Treasury to formulate a plan which will make funds available so that these very important companies and jobs will be secured long into the future." But here, bailouts to the oil companies could be controversial. Right, and that's not just like a guess. When the administration recently proposed spending $3 billion to fill the reserve as part of the stimulus package, congressional Democrats refused. Right, and so the question becomes, with the changing situation, could you get more people on the same page? But ultimately, that's where we are with this right now. Unfortunately, like almost everything that we're talking about, we're living in a developing situation. Lots of unknowns all over the place. We're gonna have to wait to see what happens next. But with this, of course, I'd love to know your thoughts, especially regarding that last point. Do you think that the oil industry should be bailed out here? Yes, no, why not? And then let's talk about immigration in the United States, because if you didn't see, President Donald Trump last night tweeted, "In light of the attack from the invisible enemy, as well as the need to protect the jobs of our great American citizens, I will be signing an executive order to temporarily suspend immigration into the United States." Now that said, no official order has been written, so the details are unclear, though Donald Trump is expected to have something to sign this week speak, even as early as today. Now that said, even though we don't have anything official written down, we have seen officials speaking to a number of news outlets indicating what might be possible. White House representatives saying that it could temporarily halt new green cards and work visas being issued. Also here saying that temporarily could mean 120 days or so, though again, this is just a ballpark number. We also saw officials speaking to the Wall Street Journal saying that the order is expected to include exceptions for migrant farm workers and healthcare workers. It is also not expected to impact those already in the United States or have already began the visa renewal process. But once again, these are things just being said by officials in reports and nothing in official document language. And I mean, one of the things that we've learned over the last 3 years is sometimes what actually happens and what was initially said, it doesn't line up. And with an announcement like this, we saw a variety of responses. This including applause from Republican legislators, with people like Alabama Representative Mo Brooks sharing Trump's tweet and saying, "Wow, one thing about Donald Trump, he knows how to put American citizens first." Arizona Rep Paul Gosar also saying, "Thank you, Donald Trump. All immigration to the United States should halt until every American who wants a job has one." But on the other side of this, you had a number of Democrats who were not supportive of this decision. With New York Representative Jerry Nadler tweeting, "President Trump now seeks to distract us from his fumbled COVID-19 response by trying to put the blame on immigrants. The truth is, many immigrants are on our front lines protecting us as doctors, nurses, health aides, farm workers, and restaurant workers." Texas Rep Joaquin Castro also saying, "This action is not only an attempt to divert attention away from Trump's failure to stop the spread of the coronavirus and save lives, but an authoritarian-like move to take advantage of a crisis and advance his anti-immigrant agenda. We must come together to reject his division." Now with this situation, one of the questions I've seen posed is, can the president actually do this? And looking into it, while yes, anything can be contested, it does appear that he does have the legal authority. And this is because of a provision of the Immigration and Nationality Act that reads, "Whenever the president finds that the entry of any aliens or of any class of aliens into the United States would be detrimental to the interests of the United States, he may, by proclamation, and for such period as he shall deem necessary, suspend the entry of all aliens or any class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants." And while everyone can have opinions of if this is the right thing or the wrong thing, I would say if anything, I'm kind of just surprised that it took him this long to make this move. Right? I mean, this announcement comes after he's already been limiting vast amounts of immigration and travel to the United States. Right? I mean, travel-wise, he's restricted certain kinds of travel from China, though, as we've talked about before, not all. He also suspended some travel from Europe to the United States, also closed borders with Canada and Mexico. Though, I will say with travel, I think more people are on the same page, like it understands to limit travel like that. But then, jumping back to the immigration side of the story, that's where we see way more people disagreeing, and Trump has actually done a ton to ban certain aspects during this outbreak. Routine visa services for most countries have stopped. Customs and Border Protection have also expelled thousands of migrants under a public health order, and so this kind of just seemed like the next step. And here's the thing, while I don't think that's a unique opinion, right, to think that this was inevitable from Trump, at the same time, you have a number of people arguing that this will just be ineffective and it's just pushing the president's agenda that he wanted before the coronavirus pandemic. For example, we saw the Cato Institute putting out a piece today saying, "There is no correlation between immigrant share of a county's population in the United States and its rate of cases or deaths from COVID-19, controlling for population density." And adding, "Ultimately, viruses will spread faster where people are bunched together regardless of where they come from." But that's where we are with this story right now. Obviously, we're waiting to see what the actual details of this looks like. But yeah, of course, with this story, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this potential move? Let me know in those comments down below. And that is where I'm going to end today's show. And hey, if you like this video, you like diving into the news with me each day, hit that like button. Also, if you're new here, definitely subscribe, definitely tap that bell to turn on notifications so you don't miss this daily show. Also, if you're looking for more to watch right now, I put out a new video on a different channel, or maybe just missed yesterday's Philip DeFranco show, you want to catch up, you can click or tap right there to watch either of those right now. But with that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco, you've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.
I hope you liked this video. Subscribe if you like it.